The real estate business is crazy. And I get called all the time to go and investigate properties and do soil testing and check for wetlands.
Right.
And, you know, size them up to see what it's gonna cost to build on them.
Yeah, right.
Too busy.
I've never seen it like this. This is unprecedented.
I get that too.
You know, I've been in the construction business since I was 19.
Literally.
And, you know, I can remember many times when, you know, trying to get a job was, you know, hard,
Right.
you know, and now it's like, I can't handle all the calls I get.
It is what it is. Now that I'm mentioning.
I imagine things will slow down a little, because I know that's what
The
the,
show, I guess.
um,
Hey,
All right, it's 5 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Mary Ann.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up, we have some minutes.
I will make a motion
Yeah.
to approve the August
sure
28th
you had enough room.
regular meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I'll follow that with a motion for an approval on the non-public meeting minutes for August 28th.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Man.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the select board will meet on the following dates at 5 PM. Monday, September 25th. And then there's a question about our second meeting. Town hall is closed on Monday, October 9th. So there's a proposal here to adjust our meeting to Tuesday, October 10th.
I cannot be in attendance that day, so.
So no
Fine by
Ted,
me.
but
Yeah, that's
is
fine.
that okay by the rest of the board to move it to Tuesday? All right, well, we will miss you, Ted, but we will labor on without you. So Tuesday, October 10th, Monday, October 23rd. Citizens wishing to be listed on the select board's agenda should notify the town hall before noon the Thursday before the scheduled meeting. All meetings will be held upstairs in town hall and will be held by Zoom. Zoom information can be found on the town's website at plymouth-nh.org. All town offices will be closed, as I just indicated, on Monday, October 9th in observance of Indigenous Peoples' Day. No comments from me. Town manager's report.
Sure, thank you. First item I wanted to bring up is delinquent tax information update. I wanted to provide the Board of Select Board with an update on delinquent taxes. Ann has recently completed a reconciliation of the delinquent taxes going back as far as 2014. As an update, we currently have 6 properties that would fall into the tax deed category that total $72,837.43 in delinquent taxes and interest due. There are several other properties that are coming up on the 3-year mark as well. Whereas the tax collector reports to the select board, I would ask permission to speak with Linda with regards to delinquent tax written agreements to inquire if we have them in place with these property owners. If not, a letter should be sent to have the property owners come in and enter into an agreement within 30 days that they can be approved by the select board pursuant to the policy that we have. So I would ask your permission to be able to speak with Linda tomorrow, and if we haven't issued written agreements, that we send a letter to those property owners asking them to come in, give them 30 days to come in. If not, then move forward with the process as we have in the past.
I'll make a motion that we authorize Scott to talk to Linda pursuant to the delinquent taxes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Next issue, we'll be talking about a little further down on the personnel policy and the ethics section, which falls under section 38, so I won't go into that right now. Plymouth Fire and Rescue, again, just a mention to save the date for September 30th, 2023, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Plymouth Fire Rescue will be holding an open house for fire prevention safety. Welfare Director's update. During the month of August, Mary Ann met and worked with 18 individuals and/or agencies to assist with the assistance and/or resources. And I've got to give a shout out to Ann as well, because Ann has done some work with Mary Ann over the last month and working through a couple of difficult cases where we were able to resolve and provide assistance to those individuals. But thank you, Ann, for stepping in when Mary Ann wasn't readily available to handle those situations. Pirate Party update. I've been working with Town Attorney Radigan, Attorney Wilson from the Attorney General's office, and Plymouth Police Department with regards to communications to Barstow Plymouth in regards to the promotion of the Pirate Party, as it is a prohibited event. We have issued a joint letter to Barstow Plymouth as well as Meta Incorporated, and the communications have gone to Plymouth State University for distribution as well. Tomorrow afternoon, we will have a law enforcement meeting with regards to preparation for that, and I will report back to you on September 25th what the final outcome, or if we've received any communications back as well. But that's where we are right now.
Scott, do we have we considered, there's another entity I think that is commonly involved called Plym Vegas or something to that effect?
They also received a letter.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Ted. You're correct. Plymouth State University update. My next meeting with Jessica Dutal is on Monday, September 18th. The cluster project is going to kick off in the month of October. John Christ had been appointed by the university to chair the committee, and we will have a kickoff meeting in October. I've asked him that we get the information at least 2, if not 3 weeks prior to, so we can get invitations sent out to the individuals that we had identified earlier of being on that committee. The PSU Town Hall meeting, September 27th, 5 to 7 at the Hartman Union Building. The invitation to community members will appear on the town website and will be distributed via the weekly newsletter, which we have been communicating that piece. Flu vaccination clinic. The town will be holding a flu vaccination clinic for Town Hall, at Town Hall for employees, families, elected officials, or volunteer committee members. The clinic is sponsored by Spear Memorial Hospital. The date is Tuesday, October 17th from 1 to 3 here in this room. 2023 reevaluation information. This is basically what was placed on the website, as well as communicated to individuals in the letters that they received. I'm not going to read through the whole piece, but it has been posted in the newsletter as well. But as of Friday, there was 53 hearings scheduled, which is rather low to the number of properties that we have in Plymouth. I think an additional 3 or 4 was scheduled today. I did attend the hearings on Friday just because I really didn't know what took place at those and wanted to see how the residents were accommodated or treated when they came in for their hearings. So I sat through 5 different hearings on Friday. They were held at Pease Public Library downstairs in the community room. And I will say Emily and Steve, who conducted the hearings, did a fantastic job working with our residents. It was a very relaxed, a very nice conversation that took place between all of them. Most of the concerns were, can you come out and take another look at our property? Fortunately enough, and well planned by Whitney Consultants, is they had one of their assessors there that would go out that day and look at the property. So out of the 5 that I saw, 2 of them had requested for an assessor to come out. And before I left, Beth, who works for Whitney Consultant, had gone out and done the assessment. So I think they were handled very well. I did follow up with 2 other individuals that had hearings on Friday, and they were very pleased with the results and how they were treated. So I think the process is going well. Hearings start again on Wednesday, so I'll try to pop in on Wednesday just to see what the conversations take place. But overall, I was very impressed with Whitney Consultants and how they treated the residents in Plymouth through those hearings and how understanding they were.
Was there any patterns to the feedback that they were getting or anything you heard that was consistent?
The only pattern I would say, Zach, was that people didn't realize or understand how the market drove the assessment and market values going up based on single-family condos, commercial properties. So that was probably the biggest pattern of Steve and Emily explaining how the market drives this. There were some questions on taxes, and of course, they would confirm with them that you don't want to take the current tax rate and multiply that towards your new assessment. That Department of Revenue Administration will be resetting the tax rate for the town of Plymouth, and typically it goes down by quite a bit after a full reevaluation. Those were the two pieces. A lot of people weren't surprised with the value because they understood where the market was in Plymouth. But that was about it.
Do we have any commercial people come into these?
Not when I was there. I think we have one coming in.
Commercial as in like Walmart commercial, or
That kind,
commercial
yeah.
as in, I haven't seen any,
I think we have one that called today.
Any business, essentially, as opposed to individuals.
We have one business from Tenny Mountain Highway that wants to come in,
Okay.
and that is in the process of being scheduled.
a lot of
Most of the commercial,
apartment building businesses are
Yeah.
coming in.
I have a question.
did we not have a big adjustment in terms of commercial? That's what I heard early,
Not
that
as large.
that didn't go up quite as much as the residential.
I have a question. Were you able to determine if there was an increase in taxable property? Not values, but the assessment. Was there an assessment increase? Were there more properties than what there were before?
We will know that at the end of September when we get back the report on the nonprofit tax exempt properties, if any of those were added to the tax roll versus being taken away. We'll have that full report back to us by the end of September.
Thanks.
I'd just like to add, Scott, thank you for attending some of those meetings and giving us that update.
I think it's important that we're represented there and we show the residents that we care also about what's going on. And the reason for going is I really wanted to make sure they were being treated fairly and that it was an open, honest, transparent conversation.
Appreciate it.
Next, Plymouth Beautification Committee. The new bench has been installed at the Plymouth Roundabout. Joyce writes that after a summer of rain interference, Clea Manson and his helper Drew Foote were finally able to set the pavers in the yard next to Samaha's store. They installed the new polywood bench purchased through donations to the Plymouth Beautification Committee. The Beautification Committee hopes you agree that the pavers are beautiful and that Clea and Drew did a fabulous job. And on top of their excellent skills, Clea offered to do the job for free as a thank you to the community of Plymouth. The next installation from the committee is flower boxes on the town common gazebo, currently being constructed by Paul Turley. We should have them ready for some fall color for everyone to enjoy. So the beautification committee has been very active and working, and I know that they, over the next couple of weeks, they'll be working on the roundabout by Samaha's store because Grenice has finished any work that's going to be done in that area.
Hey, Scott, is Reese gonna, is the contractor gonna be doing anything as far as maybe helping out to reestablish that circle?
I don't believe so.
Okay, because, they've had that piece of equipment there for a dog's age, but.
I don't believe so. I just spoke to, name escapes me now. Anyways, he's part of one of the ones that is going to do the work on the roundabout. They're gonna be in there over the next couple weeks, but I certainly can, God, it's driving me crazy, I can't remember his name. But anyways, I can speak to him and see if they need anything, if Bernice can offer a hand in helping if they need something.
Yeah, get rid of the equisetum.
I will say that, you know, as I've said right along, Tom Gurnice is very accommodating and will pretty much do everything we ask within reason.
Yeah,
So I will speak to him.
okay, thank you.
Downtown drainage project update. Things are moving right along. Good news is the Russell Street drainage construction has started. Drainage project underway, making good progress from Warren Street to Russell Street. Today, they made it to about halfway up Russell Street, putting drainage. They haven't run into, knock on wood, any problems in that area. Next phase of the drainage will occur on Main Street. They'll work from Warren Street back to Highland Street on the east side of the roadway. The majority of the work has been completed north of the Rotary. There's a few minor sewer connections that they're connecting in, but the major work is complete. The tension pond work progress. Pond is in the final stages with loam and seed in place. I don't know if anybody's taken a ride down by, but they really worked fast last week to pull that into place. The next phase down that is reestablishing the roadway, coming in off of Route 3, working towards the skate park, and creating some parking in front of the skate park and a green area for that as well. Soil testing concerns have been passed on to New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services for review. We're waiting for their final recommendations, and we heard late this afternoon we will have a call with them on Wednesday morning so they can provide us the final update of what needs to occur. And last but not least, Virginia Dearborn, if you remember, who was our oldest resident, the recipient of the Boston cane, passed away on September 1st, 2023. In speaking with her daughter after Virginia had passed away, she said to me, she says, well, my mom was okay with this, and she actually picked September 1st. She said because she was born the same day as Jimmy Buffett, December 25th, and she passed away the same day as Jimmy Buffett, September 1st.
Wow.
So kind of just a side note that our family, just wanted to say thank you again for issuing her the Boston cane, and they were very grateful of our presentation, not only during the select board meeting, but us visiting her and providing her with the cane during that time. So just a side note.
She was a well-known school teacher.
She certainly was, and I will tell you, when I went to visit her, she had a notebook of every single student she taught,
Wow.
and a memory beside each one of those students' names, what made her recall who that
Any
student
of you go to
was.
Plymouth?
Amazing. It really was amazing when she pulled out the book, and
She loved it.
I said, well, you taught my wife. And she says, well, what was your wife's name? And I said, Christine Sherman. Looked right back in the book and came right to it. So, I mean, what a wonderful lady, and taught so many children, not only in Plymouth, but I believe Campton as well, and a couple other communities. But it was good to get to know her, and I'm sure we will bringing another recipient back to you here in the near future. But that concludes my report.
Scott, going back to Pirate Party for just a second.
Sure.
Just looking at the schedule, can we make sure that the chief comes in on our next meeting just to give us kind of an update on what his plan
September
is? How?
25th,
Yeah, on the
correct?
25th. Yep.
Absolutely,
So we can get a little check-in on that before.
absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions for Scott? All right, we have an appointment. Jeff Day to the request to be on the alternate on the planning board. I've got actually, we have multiple letters here. Originally, Jeff wrote to Scott, as a resident of Plymouth, I'm interested in becoming a member of the planning board. I've been active in the community as a business owner. I have an interest interest in the planning board as I feel decisions made truly affect the orderly growth and development of the community. Additionally, I'm interested in the master plan and any updates that are in the future.
So a little bit, Zach, if I may.
Yeah.
Jeff Day has been in to meet twice with Joseph to learn more about the planning board and the zoning guidelines and operations. He's been attending the Housing Opportunity Project meetings to get a better understanding of how that blends with the planning board. He's been attending the planning board meetings, and he lives on Fairgrounds Road.
All right, with that, I'll make a motion to appoint Jeff Day as an alternate member of the planning board.
Second.
Any discussion? Just an additional note, we have 2 alternate spots open, so this would fill one of them, and there still would be 1 remaining alternate spot
That
open.
is correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And now a review of the revised Code of Ethics policy compared to the current policy.
We don't have to have a decision on this tonight if you want to review, but based on our liability and casualty carrier Primex, as well as the employment law hotline at the New Hampshire Municipal Association, is in reviewing our ethics policy, it really was very broad and less specific than what they would like it to be. Especially Primex, in speaking with Mike Ricker, the attorney for Primex, gave us some suggestions and ideas based on what they're seeing currently as an ethics policy. The one thing that I would say the policy is much the same, but more specific in certain areas. The one thing that we have added to it that we never had was nepotism, and that is actually on the last page, but
Scott, before you go to, Scott, in your packages, the current ethics policy is in there as well.
It's
So
the
just
short
make sure
one.
that you're, yeah, the short one.
Current one's the short one, and the new one's the long one.
Correct. So I just wanted you to look at both side by side when you're looking through.
And like I said, not that we have to have a decision on this tonight, but wanted to bring it to you to have you take a look at it and give us feedback based on what we've presented to you tonight. But the big change is that there never was nepotism in our current ethics policy, and we've added that, and a lot more specific in regards to several different, the 4 bullets that are in the old policy are very much more spelt out in the definitions in the new policy.
I'm assuming that most of this is some things that we had pretty much practiced but didn't have written.
Correct.
So, regarding nepotism, is it just for select board, if in a select board family or something like that, or is just everyone?
Every
Yeah,
board,
okay.
commission, employee, this ethics policy covers.
Okay.
Just for you, Bill.
Well, I've run out of kids though, so.
I think as it defines more specific, it adds clarity and creates more transparency in acting as a government official for the town of Plymouth.
I think it's great to have guidelines.
And I think it's great to have very specific call-outs that are common knowledge, but maybe not identified, and just to make sure that everybody knows what's expected of them. I'm assuming that once approved, we'll have some process in place to make sure the applicable members of the town see it.
Yes, we will. We will have a communication process to make sure it gets out to the the committees, the boards, the commissions, as well as the department heads and employees.
Anybody that's a supervisor, essentially.
Correct.
I see nothing in there that scares me.
Yeah, all looks pretty solid to me. So do we want to hold this for next time so that we have time to review? What's the board prefer?
Could you just say, change Board of Selectmen to Select Board?
Very good, yes,
Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
absolutely.
Yeah, we are not consistent throughout.
It's there in a couple of places,
Yeah,
you're
it
right.
is, you're
But
right.
it's,
How many
it's the
times
correct
does
way in
that
a couple
appear
of places too.
Just once?
Couple times, but
We'll make sure that that is corrected.
Yeah, in the word processor, you can easily find and replace.
word processor?
Whatever you want to call it.
The AI.
Word.
There you
Call it
go.
out.
There you go.
So we want to hold that for next time?
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
Get that cleaned up,
Review
yeah.
it to make sure.
That, and then if for some reason anybody from one of the other boards or from the public has any objection or concerns, that gives them a chance to come before us next
We
time.
don't usually disperse this until the board has a chance to approve it.
Admittedly, we have dispersed it by having it
Just,
here.
right,
So it's public just by the nature of it coming in front of this board.
right. But we won't disperse it to all the department heads. and
Right,
everyone.
right. But if anybody is,
Yep.
is concerned or is on one of the boards and wants to know about this, they certainly can
This
come
is
in and get a
basically a
copy.
draft.
It
It's a
is.
draft, yes.
And it's far more detailed and specific than the original one.
Yes.
For
So
sure.
what we'll do, we'll make the corrections as noted and bring it back to the board on September 25th.
Yep. Perfect.
Thank you.
Request letter from BICO regarding the acceptance of Crescent Street as a town road.
That's
FICO?
correct, Neil. So with regards to this, is we've been working with Harry and Dale Blackie. As you know, and Neil's reported on a couple occasions, they've been going through the planning board for their storage facility located off Page Street. As part of a bigger operation, they have now made a request to the town to accept 1,150 linear feet of Crescent Street as a town road. As maybe you're aware, the town already does plow a good portion of Crescent Street to the area of where Dale Blackie lives on the upper side. This would be the rest of the road that leads back out to Fairgrounds Road.
So this is that kind of connecting arc that's past Woodland Way,
Correct.
kind of around back to the other side.
Correct. So they initially had a study that was done by Mike Vignali back years ago when they had the subdivision approved, but there's been some work done on the road since. So once the board has accepted this request, based on the policy that we have in place for the road acceptance policy, the board has to receive the request. Then what we would do is work with Harry and Dale Blackie to establish escrow, one for construction, engineering review of the road, which we have gotten a quote from Mike Vignali of $1,800 to do the engineering study. And once the engineering study's done, as in accordance with the policy, we would then have the town attorney, Attorney Radigan, do the deed study to make sure that that was all in place. And once those two pieces are completed, we'll bring that back to the board to make the recommendation to accept the road.
No water and sewer?
No water and sewer.
Okay.
I see that they're going to basically pave and curb it this fall,
Correct.
so it should be up to standards.
Absolutely.
So are they gonna raise the grade where as you're going into the road, about 100 feet or so, it develops a pond in the wintertime.
I guess
There's a
that'd be
drainage
based
problem.
on Mike's
Is he-
engineering.
You got a handle on that?
Yep.
I'm sure that the highway superintendent knows about it.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, Joe is in favor of accepting the road because it makes it easier for him, where he doesn't have to store snow on that area where Dale Blackie's driveway is. So he is aware of it, he is in favor of it, in my conversations with him. But once we have the two pieces completed that are in accordance with the policy, we will bring it back to the board.
What, in terms of inspecting the pavement or whatever is going to be done this fall, do we have any standards to what level, you know, the thickness of the pavement or any of that? Do we have standards on that sort of thing?
We do, there's standards that the state of New Hampshire uses that Mike applies to our roads.
Okay, great.
Do I know exactly what they are?
No,
I do not.
not, that was not a quiz. I just wanted to make sure we had some standards and it wasn't
But we do.
No. perfect. Any other questions or discussion around Crescent Street?
Scott, do they need to accept that request?
We certainly can, sure.
I'll make a motion to accept the request.
Second.
Just for a clarification, this is just the request for consideration. We are not approving it as a town road in this vote.
You are
Correct.
correct.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Signature file review.
I just have one item. It is a yield timber tax, $1,710.86 for property that is, sorry, I don't know where it is. Map 222, Lot 8. And is, sorry, digging.
It's okay, take your time.
It's land only on New Hebron Road. There's a timber cut. Two places.
We
That's-
should, I was just saying, we should cut our trees as well. I have to find somebody,
Those trees.
our property. You know, the last time it was done was like 24 years ago or something
To
like
do
that.
like a timber harvest.
Yep.
For the town property?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it on the town property for my own
I
benefit.
thought you were saying we needed to do one on town
No,
property. I'm
no,
sorry.
just my property's kind of been like
Okay.
going on for a while.
Some old growth up over there?
I know.
There is, yeah.
I had somebody from Wentworth do mine. They were pretty good, I'm trying to.
Thanks.
It's like, it was Forco in town, Bob Burry there. I shouldn't like give names for recommendations, but
All right, well, let's move to committee reports. And we'll start with Mary Ann.
Water and sewer.
That's up quite a lot of money.
Didn't go through, but they
$17,000,
received
quite a lot
the
of work.
auditor's report, which
Oh,
itemized everything. Everything went well there. Lots of signatures. Engagement letter for a bond, loan resolution. It must have took a half an hour for, I don't know. Let's see. There was a request for reimbursement of, on 143 Highland Street. I guess there's a term for it. I don't have it. All I remember is it was like cleaning up the, help me here, the grates, the water. And I guess, and there was a sewer, the manholes. There was a sewer backup.
Basins?
Yes,
Basins?
thank you. On 143 Highland Street. It was only $450, but it was kind of like, if we do it now, how do we don't want to do it again for somebody else. They couldn't decide whose fault it was. the homeowner was like, this is all new plumbing, and so they went back and forth with that, and that was decided to, with the homeowner. Let's see. Already talked about the Main Street construction going on, Russell Street going on, talked a bit about the well at Holderness, still going on. The ground lease with Holderness, that has gone out for bid, couple purchase orders. Then they went through that touchy conversation about 89 Fairgrounds Road. That's still unresolved. I don't understand, there's a concern about 2 sewer connections. Apparently that's not allowed, and I didn't get a chance to ask why.
Duplex,
No, it wasn't.
single house,
Isn't-
single family
yeah,
home?
yeah, so I don't, I gotta ask.
That's water and sewer, right?
Right, right. Well, no, not
Two
one,
connections.
yeah. No, not
That's
at
their
all.
problem.
Right, this is true, but it was, yeah, the homeowner is not happy about water and sewer not wanting those 2 connections. I have to reach out to Jason because I don't understand what the issue is with.
It's probably
I think-
safeguarding, it's like down the pike, if one goes south, you got another one right there.
Could be, could be.
Don't they have a meter on the water that goes in?
Yeah, not on the water that goes.
Right,
How
right.
much do you think there is?
It's a busy house, it's a big place. That was about it. It was a pretty quick meeting.
That's just one thing that I didn't report on the downtown drainage is that as of Friday, all construction from Highland Street to Toby Road will be complete.
Yay.
They've got a couple things on Highland Street here at the intersection near Russell and down a little bit,
Water,
but
sewer, and drainage.
no
Drainage
drainage.
wasn't being done that way.
There is no drainage north of the
Highland.
Highland Street intersection to Toby Road. That was all water and sewer that was being done in that area.
Highland Street to
Yeah.
Toby Road.
Yep.
There's no drainage?
Well, there is
Not in
drainage.
the
but
project.
Not in this project.
Oh, okay.
No.
But there is drainage there.
There is,
Yeah.
yes, but not on this project. But all of that construction will be completed as of Friday. They have 3 more connections to make tomorrow, Mary Ann being one of them. But those will all be done within the next couple days.
So no more digging on Main Street?
No more digging on Main Street.
On the north side of Main Street.
Thank you,
All
Ted.
right.
Are they gonna put any pavement on Main Street to smooth it up?
Yep, there will be a wear course that will be put down, we're hoping by the last week in October. Because
that'll
the
be
mix
nice.
has to still be available. The state-approved mix still has to be available for that purpose, so that's why
Probably a
they're
binder, huh?
moving, yes.
So all the plates and everything on the sidewalk come
That'll be
up?
gone.
All
or-
gone.
Yeah.
So I get to say, I get to, the will have parking.
You'll have all your parking back
All
as
right.
of next week. Yes.
Awesome.
That's exciting.
Just in time for it to cool down.
Right, this is true. This is true.
That's okay, the leaf peepers
Soup
show up,
season.
it still's good
My
business.
goodness, there was a bus that came through last week. And I'm like, it's a little early for leaf peeping. Like, yeah, we just figured that out. Anyway, they bought ice cream. So.
The mountains are still pretty.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
Anything else on Village Water and Sewer?
That was it.
Planning Board?
I was unable to make the meeting, but I talked with Joseph, and he said it was a very productive work session.
They met for about 2.5 hours last Thursday evening. It was the Housing Opportunity Project Committee as well as the Planning Board. They had discussions on Phase 1 and Phase 2, very open discussion with regards to comments from both the Planning Board and the committee back to Barrett Consulting, who was in attendance. And I think they made some headway and some additional suggestions on what can be included in the report. So I thought it was a good meeting.
Thanks.
Campus Community Council?
As Scott previously mentioned, September 27th, PSU Hartman Union Building, 5 p.m.
Okay, Plymouth School District, Elementary School.
Elementary school meets in 20 minutes today.
So you're missing that one.
Not yet.
He'll make it.
Well, it depends, I guess.
He'll make it.
Good point. We're actually close.
Yeah.
We're actually close. High school, good meeting. They reported on enrollments for this year. 149 first years, 167 sophomores, 189 juniors, and 145 seniors. So a big group of juniors. But good numbers. They're happy with all of that. They made a bunch of changes to electives last year in hopes to get more students into classrooms and into electives and out of study halls. And they reported that's been very successful. They went from having 40 to 60 students in each of the study hall sections and needing at least 2 teachers to cover those. And now they've got 7 or less in each of those study halls. So that's
Students?
way more students
Yeah.
enrolled in
Yeah, they're taking
elective
classes.
courses
Great.
instead of study halls. So
That's a
that
good
was,
thing.
yeah, a really nice improvement that they were really proud
So
of.
how do they cover the teachers for those new electives?
Part of the increase of the budget last year was some additional costs for new elective classes, some new instructors, those kinds of things. So rather than staffing up for study halls,
Right,
they
they
staffed
just
up
moved
for
it.
electives,
Gotcha.
and it's been effective.
That's great.
Which is the mission of the school.
Absolutely,
Right,
way
right.
way better than having 60 kids in a cafeteria and trying to
Right.
corral that for an hour. So really
remember
good.
having
Speaking of
cafeteria.
water and sewer, there's a request to shorten a line through to Merrill Street from some back line that they approved. No fields are going to be dug up or anything, but they agreed to create an easement there to simplify the sewer system. Very brief update on the principal search. They just completed doing a community survey for that. The details for the timeline and everything about the search are on the SAU website. I would cite some dates, but then they would change and I'd be wrong. So go to the SAU website. I think it's also on the high school website to check it out. I think they said that the position's going to open on the 1st. And now I don't remember if that was September 1st or October 1st. I feel like maybe it's October 1st. I'm not sure. Ending of the fiscal year, things looked good. Sounded like they had over $300,000 in the retained fund balance and another $300,000 in the unreserved fund balance. So that was a good end to the fiscal year for them. They reported that the food program is running in a slight deficit post-COVID and after some of those promotions. And because the fund balances have been what they are, they're not going to do anything to adjust that. They're just going to run as a deficit for a little while, and they have the funds to cover it. And then I want to, just a very brief, unrelated to the school board itself, but very much like we have Frank here, Ann Murphy is sort of the reliable public attendee at the high school board. So just a quick shout out to public participation. Any questions about high school? Nope. Conservation Commission, Ted.
They did not meet in August, but they are meeting next week on the 19th at 7 p.m. right here. Super fun times to be had by all.
Super fun time.
That was
Different.
I'm kidding.
Capital improvement, we are meeting in October is still the plan. Has a date actually been set for that yet? No?
I think we were waiting for Susie Woods to provide us with some input on a date, is that correct?
I spoke to her last week. I asked her just to hold off because we're still working on the budget. I just wanted to make sure that we're still on task for that, so.
I know
as soon
she
as we get
reported
that-
at the planning board meeting the other night that she has been receiving information from department heads for the capital improvement plan.
Okay. LRPC?
We have an executive committee meeting on Wednesday morning. Haven't met for months. And that kind of reminded me that John Christ is, is a commissioner. And so I haven't heard what's up with the commission, but they probably haven't been meeting either.
Neil, at the next planning board meeting, could you ask John for an update?
Update on LRPC.
Yeah, and if there's anything of note from those meetings or if they've been meeting. I think that's our best path to get a feedback from him.
Yeah, or just give them a call and make a note, but
Parks and Rec, Ted?
I have no report because they met in early August.
Report. Parking.
We will have parking. Oh, sorry.
That's what I just heard.
Yes.
It's coming back. Has that committee met?
Yeah. There's a lot to do at the moment.
Energy Commission.
nothing lately.
One, you want to talk about it, Ann?
Nope, I was hoping that somebody would.
So on the solar array project out at the airport, we've been working with the New Hampshire Electric Co-op. There was a little delay in getting the
yeah,
interconnectivity
that's
study
what-
done. So we pushed along, we have the agreement, we've signed the proposal, we've issued the check, or the check will be issued this week for that study. So the project is moving along again nicely now.
Is that like 2,500 or something like that, or what was the cost of that?
5,000.
5,000
Okay.
for the study.
That's kind of a high side, but,
That's only a percentage of it. I believe that's what they had asked for originally,
okay.
was
In the,
5,000.
okay.
We
How long will
had
the-
Jack and Ted review the proposal, and they were fine with it, said it looked in line with any other solar arrays that they've put in place and had studies completed.
Okay.
How long will the study take, any idea?
I think they said it would take up to 4 to 6 weeks to have it completed, which means construction probably will start next spring on it, and the CDFA loans allows us up to 18 months to get the project started. So we're well within the time frame of what.
So even with the spring groundbreaking, we're still in good shape.
Well, since I'm on the energy committee, is there anything on the next contract or
Power?
the remainder of the 250? So right now, I guess, well, theoretically, that's going to be 75% of our municipal load. And then there was another thing for 25% that we were applying for.
For the money that would come back to the
No,
town.
this was
No,
a
for that
separate
other
initial
grant.
that Grace
Yeah.
talked to us about.
I
haven't
have not heard any more on
Okay,
that.
just thinking you probably.
I will
know.
check into it though, because I haven't heard on it.
Yeah, or maybe she'll call a meeting too, for that matter, but.
Is this part of the grant funding that's supposed to be
grant.
coming back? Yes.
Yeah.
No, for the second project, not for
Well,
the
it's
first
another
project.
grant too for that one.
There was
but-
another one.
Oh, there was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So she has not given us any update on that recently.
All right.
I will follow up on that tomorrow.
I should, I'm the committee, whatever, but
Well, how come you haven't followed up?
I don't know.
Bill.
Scott, please, come on.
Advisory Budget Committee also has not met. Are they planning to meet in October as well? Is that the, it seemed like
That they
sooner might
are-
be better.
We're waiting for the budget to, all the department heads are doing it now. Then Scott and I will be going through. And then following that, the department heads will, the budget committee will actually set up their own meetings with the department heads.
Okay.
So we're on a roll. We have until the end of September for department heads. And then I think Scott and I have 2 weeks, so it probably won't be until like later in October.
Okay.
That's
I
my
just know
guess.
how quickly my calendar fills up, and so the closer we get to those dates, the more nervous I become about,
Right.
because I know they want to meet during the day, which is, I got to shift all my stuff. So we'll probably late October. Economic Development Committee,
It's coming. I can feel it.
it's coming soon. Back in session. Chamber of Commerce,
Thursday meeting, this Thursday.
Thursday. Perlac,
We're missing our chair and I think our vice chair at the last meeting, so we really didn't cover a heck of a lot, but we did discuss.
Got a lot of notes.
Oh, of course you did,
Are you slackening?
You want to hear
Oh,
it?
no, I can
do.
like do it in like 2
Okay.
seconds, but, okay.
The July minutes were approved. There's a site on 101 Old Bristol Road in New Hampton where there was clearing that was a violation, and the owners filed an incomplete standard dredge and fill app. The White Mountain Country Club alteration of terrain permit was approved by the state. The Pemmy River Campground in Thornton failed to show up at the planning board, and their permit application was canceled. They got to start over. And the Jack-o'-lantern expedited app is still pending. They're going to try to realign their golf course. The White Mountain Country Club, dredge and fill application is still pending. That's regarding irrigation. In New Hampton on 104, the Mooney Clark Landing is now owned by New Hampshire Fish and Game. There was a lot of dispute as to who should maintain it up prior to that. Let's see. Bill should have the VRAP report.
I do.
Yeah, okay.
Somewhere.
Dave said the alteration of terrain permit information is available on page 3 of the tax map for the White Mountain Country Club if you go to DES One Stop. And Tracy Sales regarding plan update project needs ADA requirements updated and specifics on meander belts, which are like oxbow wetlands. I call them dead rivers, vernal pools and moats. In Bridgewater, the Great Brook culvert, I guess it failed, and there's an emergency on River Road. The state's trying to fix it. Sahiganet Falls access has been revamped. I don't know if they finished it yet. They did. Community budgets are coming up, so they wanted to emphasize that we pay attention to that. I think maybe the LRPC wants money, or
We're sticking with $300 per.
yeah. And
And that's what I've been covered with, we just have to defend those budgets Bristol.
yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Neil. So regarding VRAP, we had the last, VRAP water testing last Tuesday. And that's it for the season. And one thing that we did was kind of say goodbye to Max Stamp as far as doing VRAP. In fact, Tracy Sales was concerned that she heard scuttlebutt that Max was stepping down from Turlac. And
Is
that's
he?
not the case, no.
Oh, good.
Well, they're trying to make sure
He's an
that
institution.
he is, yeah. He was one of the first starters. Pat Schlesinger was the woman that
Yeah.
took it to Congress to get the permission to do the wild and scenic rivers and get Perlac and all these other LACs started. And, Max was like one of the initiators of that. So Max will be sticking around. Regarding the, Mooney Clark and Fish and Game stepping up and say, we're owning it. Well, that was a thing of dispute when, I guess the power company was paying the property taxes on that. And there's a state law saying public access to waterways shall be basically overseen by Fish and Game. And there was a larger dispute with the town manager at the time in Bristol, where Fish and Game pointed fingers at Bristol saying, you own it. And that would mean that they have to plow in the wintertime and stuff. So the manager at the time said, well, we'll see if our lawyer thinks so too. And that kind of ended the discussion. And now with Fish and Game by law assuming ownership or at least oversight of all the public access things, I would imagine that's going to include ours as well. So they maintain it, which if we haven't had that discussion or if they haven't, we could probably hit them up for,
Is that a new ruling?
No, the law's been on the books for, years, but then Fish and Game doesn't really have the resources.
No.
They don't have
You're
the,
getting beat up.
they don't have a budget. I mean, they rely on, fees and stuff, but regardless, that's the law. So,
Interesting.
they can go in and fix it if they want, but, you know, that they may be helpful in some regard.
People were dumping stuff like car batteries and stuff, and oil cans.
Yeah, like a 55-gallon drum
Yeah.
of whatever, oil or something like that.
So all public accesses, Fish and Game has to maintain?
That's to encourage access to any public waters.
They do, they do maintain the one down on Green Street. I know that Joe and Steve have had conversations with them about the ramps leading down in,
Okay,
and they did come in and take care of the issues that were identified.
all right.
They have a
That's,
crew that does that.
and the town of Thornton wanted to assume ownership of, you know, there's a memorial bridge that is on the road next to their town hall. And it's a little stub that goes across, you know, the river there, and there's like a boat ramp down beneath that bridge. And town of Thornton wanted to assume ownership, and I'm thinking, you can try, but why would you wanna? And Fish and Game maintains it. In fact, that's the one ramp that they do maintain, but I don't know if they're gonna try
Is
to.
that the one under the bridge?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's an old road. That was a state highway at one time.
Wow, probably get washed out every
Old
year,
original
but,
road, yeah. Went up through the robin's nest, you know, where the trees grew up through the cabins, on, up by the, where the old bridge, where the old covered bridge, or old iron bridge used to be.
Dale, I'm not that old, sorry.
Think of that.
All right.
Any other questions about PERLAC? Fire and Police Building Assessment Committee was scheduled to meet
Oh,
tomorrow,
right.
and then it got moved to the 26th.
26.
So
That was, a portion was, we hadn't received the updated report back from the Turner Group, and the Pirate Party meeting is taking place at the same time.
so. Just delayed a little. It's
I have
fine.
something to add.
Yeah, please.
I have information from the airport manager that Saturday's event was fantastic.
What was Saturday's event?
It was a monster
that's
yard
right.
sale.
the
yard sale. Yeah,
He said thousands of people came out there, and everything went smoothly.
that's great.
Towards the end of the day, I went to the dump and we stopped at
Yay.
Longview on the way, and we noticed that. I wasn't aware specifically that it was out there, and I was a little surprised, but Marcy remarked that it was a brilliant place to hold it.
Cool. I was out of town
I
this
think
weekend.
it's a great place to have events, you know, town events.
Sure.
They have plenty of room.
She even noticed that there was like a catering truck out there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It was late enough in the day where it was almost over.
You weren't going back out?
No, it was almost over. I mean, people were clearly starting to pack up.
That was a big day.
It's great. Any other comments from the board?
Can I do a couple of plugs?
For sure.
All right, so, as you may know, I'm the Executive Director of Transport Central, and we're gonna have a meeting. It's not that, we've probably got an invitation maybe today.
We did.
Okay. And it's gonna be on the 21st of September, 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning. And essentially, it's going to be listening to Tri-County Cap up in Berlin that is essentially gonna give us a bus for a fixed route transportation route.
Yep.
And a driver as well. And it's going to be an open discussion, one of which is that they want to make sure that ultimately there's going to be a match of some sort. And also at play is a university that wants to, you know, utilize their vehicles and the drivers for, you know, the school year, and then we would assume cost. And I'm not talking about Plymouth, but there's also DOT that provides funds for public, you know, transportation like this. So in any event, the 21st, it's going to be at the community room at the Pease Public Library, 8:30 to 10:30, and I think I'm on the line for providing water and little bags of chips.
8:30?
Yeah,
Was
somebody
there
want.
a subsequent meeting at the senior center on the 26th or 27th of?
Has that been nailed down? Did you get an invitation for that?
I did.
Because, okay. It seemed a little bit redundant.
Because I can't be there on the 21st because I'll be away. But
Okay.
then Nicole sent me an additional invitation to the senior center. I think it's the 26th from
There's a little bit of communication issue, because she's the mobility manager for Region 1, and I'm working with also the statewide mobility manager, as well as Nicole. And Nicole seems a little unfamiliar with, establishing and announcing group meetings, and so the one on the 21st was just nailed down today. And there was talk about the 27th, and initially there was talk about the 27th only. And I'm thinking, well, first of all, the senior center's allowed. It's, no offense to the senior center, I hope they're not listening right now. But, you hear every footfall, people get up to, go to the bathroom or get a drink or something, and, you hear clump, clump, clump for the next 5 minutes. But the library and the community center has like all the technology, it can accommodate Zoom. It's got Dan, who is going to be helping out, putting it on YouTube and allowing people to come in. And so it was a preferable site. So I'm not certain why we need another one, but, I guess that's fine too.
So Joseph will be attending the one on the 21st as well.
Okay, excellent, yep. And I wanted it to be far and wide, because I want everybody that might have a dog in the fight to be there, including, Hannaford and Market Basket, and you're on the invitation list as well, because you're a business person. The board should probably consider, being there, because ultimately, this is just the next step in getting a transportation, I'm not exactly sure how much ownership Transport Central is going to have of this, but it seems like we might have quite a bit initially. And then we're looking at, I went to a meeting last week in Killington, and speaking of leaves and stuff, it was 85 degrees, all green leaves. I mean, this is the beginning of September in northern, Vermont type thing. And
I can remember skiing at Killington in September.
Well, I know, they opened the mountain in October. But in any event, there was a transportation meeting on rural transportation solutions. And ultimately, there'll be like a microtransit solution that we'll probably adopt, which is basically a grand enhanced Uber, but it's all public. And
One thing I have heard over the last couple of weeks is CAT, the Concord Area Transportation,
Yep.
is now running a bus 5 times a day from Laconia to
Yep.
Concord.
yeah, that's
And wouldn't that be nice if we could connect that link?
exactly what this is. That's a discussion I've been having with the statewide mobility manager. In fact, TRICAP is up in Berlin, and they have, when you look at their map, if you have a chance, take a look at the transportation that they provide. They've accommodated maybe 8 towns now or something like that. There's several routes that they do up north. They come down as far as borderline Lincoln, not quite Lincoln. And the statewide mobility manager, Terry Palmer, who was a real
Terry
hotshot.
Palmer?
Terry. Oh. And, okay, now I got it. Yeah, Terry Palmer. So, she basically has a vision, and I'm with her as far as taking it from Berlin down to Plymouth, or, through there, down to Laconia, to Concord, to wherever, Manchester Airport, The vision is to, if you're in Berlin, you want to hop on a plane to Paris, you got a way there. And ultimately, the transportation software that they're coming up with will allow you to basically, ultimately, which just, go on, Google Maps, and your mode of transportation will be, okay, I want to, get on a bus. And it'll show you a route from, you to wherever your destination is, the transfers that you'll have to do, and charge you for it. And, that's pretty cool. So, that's all coming down the pike.
Do we have number of riders, things like that?
So, you mean the estimation of number of
Yes.
rides? So Concord Area Transit was kind of a horror show initially, because they had a fixed route. In fact, I was working at the state when they started the whole thing. Their ridership was really down, and it's embarrassing to see a full big old bus nobody on it. So they started doing like a dispersed transit or something, where they can go like a quarter of a mile off route to pick up people that would have difficulties getting on a fixed route. And that really kind of enhanced their driving. But yeah, they're functional and happy now. And what we're gonna do, we're not gonna have like a large bus. It's gonna be, a 15-passenger, 16-passenger vehicle, maybe with wheelchair lifts. And, that way you can have like a person that doesn't have a CDL. And also autonomous vehicles was kicked around quite a bit. So that might be a solution, maybe not here so quickly, but ultimately I see a microtransit solution very easily, relatively easily implemented, software-based. Anyway, looking forward to it.
Electric buses by any chance?
So, in fact, PSU put in a grant for a Shaheen add-on, budget add, and I don't believe they got it, but they were targeting several electric vehicles with additional drops, charging drops. And, it was not bifurcated. What's the, you can push and pull electricity. If you can just, it'll allow a bus to like, download, power, just to get it back online. It has to do with like, value. You might get more money by getting solar and then putting it on. In any event, we're not doing that. So they didn't get the grant.
There you go.
But they had buses at this thing in Killington that you could just get on. I wasn't able to get like a trip, but they had an electric bus, and unfortunately, because of the batteries, it's rather high. So when you get on the bus, you got like a head issue. But regular diesel buses have, like regular head height and stuff. But
They just discovered the largest lithium deposit in the world out in the Rocky Mountains.
perfect.
Yeah.
It's here. I like
Yes,
that.
Yeah. I thought they getting extracted from seawater or something like that too, though, or whatever, but in any event.
So the difference between this transportation that you're talking about and the bus that comes into town is shorter trips?
Okay, actually, I was talking to the guy that was doing the bus that comes into town too at Killington. Yeah, that's basically, in fact, that's interstate. We're also talking, it was a tri-state meeting, and we're talking about like sharing between like Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. But there are regulations about these transportation, businesses in our state that can't go across border. Like if you have, there's a place, and I'm trying to think of the stupid name, but over in Lebanon. It's not coast, it's, in any event, they have to stop at the border, they can't go over, so there's, those issues have to be solved as well. But, yeah, this would be different than that. But it would allow for you ultimately to take like a trip around, if you were in Plymouth or over on like Fairgrounds or something like that, and you want to get to Boston, you'll hop on a bus, it'll take you to the bus stop in downtown, Plymouth to hop on Concord Transit or something like that. The key is to make it easy and familiar so you're not put off by some complicated way to catch a bus. So, yep, it's gonna get there.
Joyce Craig says she's going to push for passenger rail to Manchester.
I think they both are gonna push for passenger
Yeah?
rail. Yeah, makes sense. Passenger rail and also freight. I mean, freight rail is also necessary, but yeah, Manchester's a little bit far from here.
One step at a time.
No, I know.
Got to get it somewhere.
Yep.
Leap of faith.
Ironically, it was here many years ago.
I know.
Right.
I know. We deconstructed the rail
Full
system in this country.
Yep, and in New Hampshire, it's like rail to trail, which is nice, but we're losing all the old rail. Anyway,
Any other miscellaneous comments from the board?
I talked long enough so you didn't have to go to your,
I did notice that.
you're welcome. No, like,
Filibustered his school board meeting. Any public comments?
Thanks.
Appreciate it,
Thanks,
Frank.
Frank.
Do we have any non-public stuff?
Not that I see.
We do
All right.
not.
Then a
Only
motion
10
to
after
adjourn.
6. I'm gonna
Second.
get supper.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?